Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next installment of this event of the Greek Delivery Management Community under auspices of IPAM. I hope you can hear me well and can see my screen. My name is Sergey, and I'm going to present the topic of delivery management enhanced by GenAI. So we are right at the beginning of the hour, and it is very much time to start. So the topic is going to be, of course, very um, adequate to the time and progress of what's going on around us. And I will be speaking about it with certain expertise because I have been for 17 years in IPAM. And out of them, more than a decade doing different types of technical management, for roles from team management to portfolio management. And now I'm heading delivery management at IPAM for fintech banking sector in Switzerland and neighboring countries. And through this, of course, I accumulated a lot of experience of doing project management in IT and dealing with questions of what AI revolution has in stock and changes. What changes does it bring to us? I'm based in Zurich, and I will be your host for the day. So I know that this event is a part of the series of the delivery management community in Greece, and I hope it's going to be an interesting and informative event that will encourage you to come more to this event series. So this is going to be our topic, the technological influence on what we do as IT project management specialists. And here I would like to start with this image that is both modern and classic. Classic because this is agriculture. This is as ancient art as can be. At the same time, people from just 200 years ago will completely not understand what is going on here. Why this apparatus goes without any human being around? Where are those humans who are used to be tending to those fields? And what is inside of the tanks and so on? And really for us it's although cutting edge, but for us we pretty much understand what's going on here, and it just shows that impact of technology on professions, such as in this case I take an example of agriculture. Impact of technology is gradual but incessant. It doesn't come overnight, but amount of changes that get accumulated in different pieces make professions very different. And we saw it so many times, from farming to basically horse carriages and cars and all other interesting comparisons and metaphors. But it enables us to a little bit forecast and have some expectations of how progress will come to IT and to specifically area of IT project management, that it will not happen overnight, that somebody says and comes and says, Your way is completely old, now we do different stuff." In fact, the real current ways of doing things in IT project management will just be transcended and included into new ways of doing things based on AI and GenAI. And I will be showing today some pieces of this new world that I actually use in my work. And still, the expected result of this gradual impact of technology, Gen AI in this case, and other types of AI, is that we will see transition to fewer workers who are highly qualified and have cross-domain skills. So you can have an example here that instead of a lot of people, you can imagine that to operate this stuff, we need few, but who can really understand nature, agriculture, agri-technology, tractor technology, some chemistry, everything that goes with it, so that they can tune and set up this human machine nature interaction system in the best possible way, how the operator wants it to be. And the same can be applied to our domain. So from one side, full stack engineering was quite a thing for a while, but it was not something revolutionary, because people who combine and know how to operate on different levels of the software architecture, for example, front and back end, they were not more productive than specialists. They just, maybe they saved a little bit on handovers of tasks between tiers, but at the same time they had to know a lot and had to learn a lot of different technologies at the same time. But now, with new technological bases based on AI, the setup is going to be that, similar to what's in the image, that the power of those who harness new technology, the productive power, will be more than those who don't. And therefore, those who don't know how to harness new technologies will be just squeezed out of the workforce. And our domain of IT will be left with still a lot of human people, but they will be partnering with AI, similar to how farmers partner with their agricultural tools. Then the skills that we are going to acquire during this revolution are going to be not necessarily to build new tools, to build distractors. No, farmers are not building them, but they actually are expert operators of these devices. And this is going to be the guiding paradigm of IT people in this environment of Gen AI enabled revolution. Few of us are going to work on new models for AI or Gen AI. A little bit bigger number of people, but still very few, will be working on tools for SDLC that use this. For example, IDEs and plugins and copilots. And then vast majority of those who remain in the workforce of IT will be expert operators of this technology. So still learn, but how to operate, how to squeeze all the possibilities for productivity improvement and personal growth as offered by modern day technology tools that are available to you in your place of work. And this is supported by the last point here, that operators will be more numerous than tool creators, valued lower, but still at least have a chance to stay in the profession rather than being squeezed out to some other professions that will be emerging as well elsewhere. So this is my guiding paradigm, and you may see by the sign here that I represent EPAM. EPAM embraced this philosophy big time, and as soon as GenAI became a thing, we made sure that we are installing, and actually we developed our own AI proxy called Dial, and made all the possible AI models available to all the people at EPAM, no matter if they are people in production activities, in coding, in testing, in non-production, our accountants, account management, business development, marketing. Everybody has access to latest AI models from all vendors. And this was rolled out globally across EPAM as soon as possible. Of course, it was a huge driver of our innovation, and this is how we prepare ourselves for the coming revolution. So now that we understand the metaphor, what, in my modest opinion, is going to happen, I will be just showing you different pieces of the job of IT project management or delivery management, and showing how those GenAI elements already come into the picture, creeping steadily, gradually, but incessantly. So the subsequent discussion is going to be along the following pieces, chapters: risk management as foundational activity for IT project management, then usage of GenAI for specifically risk management, then an illustration of using AI for team formation, then some discussion on 5 waves of generative AI in SDLC, and then we will conclude with a big round of Q&A. So now we will proceed to the topic of risk management as the foundational activity, because in order to make sense of what I want to present next, I want to explain a little bit why I'm going to talk about risk management whatsoever. And I'm sharing another deck right now about project design and risk management as the foundational activity. So that represents my view on what I do for a living, or basically management of projects in IT. And I had to spend a lot of time actually trying to wrap my head around what is it that I'm doing. And then it was especially useful when I started to do mentoring at IPAM and teaching a little bit, since in order to explain something to your mentee, you need to have your own very clear understanding of what is this that you are doing. So management, in my view, is making decisions in context of known criteria of success. This is when somebody already defined that, yes, we want to do this project, we want to deal with this customer, and more or less hopefully invited us, delivery managers, to contract discussion on contract signature. But still, when it is mine to deliver, then I already know criteria of success, more or less scope, more or less schedule, more or less client aspirations. And so that's what's called management. And on the contrast, leadership would be making decisions in context of unknown criteria of success. When you, for example, run your own company, and it's really hard to understand what is a success in your case. Good. And so with this introduction of management, my view that management is conducted through a sequence of risk remediation actions to prevent the ultimate risk. Ultimate risk is when these criteria of success are not met. And this is applicable to any project. So for example, we build a bridge. So ultimate risk is that the bridge is not built or fails during the operation. We may send people to the moon. Ultimate risk is that they do not come, or at least come to the destination not in one piece. Or we can participate in elections, and the project is to get our candidate elected, and ultimate risk is apparently that the candidate didn't make it to wherever the position was on the election. So this is the ultimate risk, and then we need to work through it by sequence of risk remediations. Okay, we need to understand scope. Okay, we need to understand team. So then we concentrate on what the team is going to be. Then we need to understand what tools we have, then how to put it all together. And so every day is filled simply by risk remediation activities. And this is how I even structure my own day. Why today I do what I do for basically in my working day. This is in order to remediate those risks that I feel are the most salient to me on a given day of project management. And so this explains why in project management I speak about risks, and this is my foundational term. And now we'll spend a little bit of time about definition of the project risk, so that we just understand that having good nomenclature and taxonomy, we can then help ourselves a little bit with GenAI tools. And so risk is a potential future event coming from a threat that may generate losses or damages. And that's important that it's a future event. If it's already happened, then yeah, maybe damages are already on us. But usually it means that, well, too late to do something with that past. We still need to remediate what consequences we will still have in future, and therefore have force and means and time to still influence. So there are different types of losses: financial, positions, reputation, then loss of talent. Okay, and then there are, in a context of IT project risk, then we can spell out different threat sources, and I think everybody will recognize this as classics: financial threat source, scope, schedule, quality, engineering excellence, team processes, and then there are some examples. Good. So here it is a good practice to assign a score, probability, and impact of damage or impact of loss. It really then depends on which formalism and which procedures and which system you use for your own practice. We at IPAM have a specific system that where we manage our delivery and record our risks. But my practice show that anything will do the job as long as you practice it consistently. So that if you decide to use the method, then just continue using it, and which terminology you use, it's less important. So then when we have a risk, we need to have two attributes associated with it: response or remediation. And this is classics of PMBOK. A lot of us know it. How to respond to a risk. We can mitigate it, avoid it, accept it, transfer, or escalate. which is not always really a risk remediation strategy because it's just bringing in more heads, more brains into the topic, but the topic is still there. The risk is still there. So it's in parentheses, really. But then, although we have this risk remediation or response, we don't have all the resources, money, people, time of the world, and maybe our effort will simply be not enough. The risk will still happen. And then we always need to have DCP, damage control plan. In case if risk happens, then we need to know how to absorb the risk, how to absorb the impact or damage, and be ready with a simple, at least simple action plan, what to do in this case, but still thought in advance. All right, so this is the overall explanation of a project risk, and I really practice it in my projects and also with those delivery managers with whom I work with. And of course, it takes time to understand how this project, how this risk management can function, and then it takes time to identify risks, to manage risks. I found it so much useful regardless of the time and effort that I need to put it in. But I also, of course, very early experimented if GenAI can help us with this one. And yeah, of course it can. And so this is the experiment that I'm going to show to you. So this will be the first piece when new technology, GenAI, helps us to do something. So this is my subscription of ChatGPT, and actually at EPAM we do have, as I mentioned, the AI proxy, which is much more powerful because it has a lot of additional features. And then it has, as you may see, subscriptions to all the different models. It's important for us as the leading software company to expose to all the people everything that that the world has on the topic and enable access through UI, through API, so that nobody needs to tinker with keys. So it's as smooth as possible. But for purpose of this lecture, I of course will resort to more standard ChatGPT. And so this is what I have on my side. So I of course have the summary of my view on risk management as a prompt. So I practiced basics of prompt engineering, explaining who I am for the language and for setting up the context, then giving definitions and this vocabulary that I have just briefly walked you through, and then giving two examples so that it's a two-shot prompt in this case. So I explain that in this is example one. I give a summary of a risk, threat source, remediation, and similarly risk two. Okay. Yes. So with this, I say to the model, acknowledge the information and doesn't provide additional output. Usually GPT-4, as smart as can be, still will parrot back something. Okay, no, it's all right. It decided not to. Sometimes it adds a couple of sentences of a summary, but yeah, I just changed one word and my prompt doesn't provide other output to additional, and that it changes. So it's very interesting to interact with those models. Anyway, so now I have primed our discussion with what I consider a useful definition of risk for my purpose. And now I want to analyze a project that is going to be from here. So I have a document. Here it is. So it is a sample case that I use for my classes of risk management. So quite a few students at EPAM know this absolutely fictional case. And I will upload it to ChatGPT and say that basically analyze the document and list project risks. And I do not even ask it to list in the specific format, nothing, just do your job. And the cognitive abilities of modern day models are high in the sense that it already deduced from the context that I want to use specific example of risk declaration that I gave above. And basically it tries at best. So we will go a little bit right now when it stops. Last time during preparation, it decided to print out 6 risks. And depending on the little changes in prompt, it may decide to do more or less. That is one of the interesting aspects of, right now I see it's already 7th, of interacting, as in order to get a reliable output from models, you need to really then go into prompt engineering and specify everything, how much and how what. So we can compare. Last time it gave me 6, as you can see, and it was just an hour ago, and I was preparing and doing the dry run, and right now it's 8. And I did made literally one change in all the prompt, that I changed this word from other to additional. I don't know if it matters. Interesting. So let's dive into. So of course you don't know the example, which is fine. So I just can assure you that the risks that GPT-4 provides, returns back, are reasonably valid. Not necessarily, that they may be the deepest, because we as professionals in the space, after many projects, reading, after having read and got the project definition, we imply a lot of things just out of our expertise. And I'm sure GPT-4 would be able to do it. It just, I needed to prime it much deeper into my context, into what our company does, into where our people are. And then it will start including that maybe there are geopolitical risks and other. And that, of course, it didn't do it, because my example was pretty basic, just 2 pages. But still, even for this, it did good job. And so from that perspective, like this one, compliance with healthcare regulations, let's dive into it. So the summary of the risks, that the platform must consider local healthcare regulations. Indeed, it was about G healthcare, so looks valid. Threat scope, that it's quality and processes. Here, I would argue a little bit, because if we build the platform for G healthcare and it needs to do some regulation stuff, then most likely it's also scope, because we need to most likely build some features that for audit or for warning of our users. So most likely here also scope is there, and as a threat source. And then we have some remediation strategy, which is mitigate and avoid, build compliance risks into the project plan, which is technically most likely not avoid but mitigate. And so, as you see, that still it is a good starting point for in-depth debate, but it's already far from the just blank slate and where do I start. It already reminds me of a debate with talented and very smart junior who simply needs much more context and experience in order to really get into my view of things that we discuss, in this case, risk management. And this is my actually key takeaway of my interactions with GPT and about prompt engineering, that prompt engineering is really, I feel it more like a psychology, where I interact with a very talented junior who knows all the books of the world but doesn't know my job. And in order to create a prompt, I need to really spell out all my context, all my experience, what the company does, what we did wrongly before, what we did rightly before. So you can imagine the humongous prompt, and then it will start producing something that is more and more and more relevant to my situation. So that will be actually the biggest impediment on the way to widespread adoption of the tools, is that they primarily learn from externalized knowledge, which is either publications or some nice or less nice transcripts of videos, but still people speak much more than they can write, and people know much more about them than they can speak. And so really, unless with advantage of and advance of technology, we get this GPT or LLM, or actually GenAI agents, really all the time in context, they still will be a pretty big barrier between our context and context of a model, but still they are useful, as you can already see. And so to conclude the first part, here we already have some suggestion of risks. And then in case of ChatGPT, we would need to copy paste it, a little bit of the monkey job, copy paste in your risk management system. At EPAM, we run our own delivery platform. I will be showing a little bit of it. And because of that, we control our own software, our own processes, and we have all these facilities built into so that we don't need to copy paste. But still, in so many tools that you will be dealing with and that have GenAI inside, copy paste is part of the workflow for good reason, because during the copy paste, this little ritual changes ownership and liability for consequences from the model, from GenAI to you, to the user. So that's why even in the most advanced copilots and other stuff, they usually provide their output in a separate window and request that the user presses a button or copy paste or something. Sort of why don't we like build it into the flow? But this is right now the state of things, state of affairs, how we handle AI generated content from perspective of warranty and liability. And this is why you will increasingly see so far all these use cases that have little barrier between output and the destination that still human needs to press. All right, so that was the first part, explanation of risk management, and then GenAI for risk management with small demo. So here, let's open a small moment for Q&A. Okay, so here, can we have a look at the original document? Does AI identify the risk based on objectives? Yeah, of course. So original document is actually, I will show it to you, just give me a second, is a usual case study. So it doesn't have even a word risk inside. So it didn't, so risk, basically this is just that at the end, it is my questions to my students, right? So it is not a hint what risks are possible. So since I use this as the methodical element in my course, I just happen to have these tasks for students, but I don't believe that it helped to really come up and understand which existing risks can be in the case. And case is pretty complex, so we have some GE, which is in this case just fictional, and then we have some basically some task that we need to create some e-commerce and then site core integrated with hybris and build something in the environment where we have other vendors. So you can imagine pretty sophisticated case, but it doesn't list risks explicitly. So all those risks were devised by GPT-4o in this case. I think so, right? Yeah, 4o. Just based on the logic and based on my definition of risk. Good. All right. So I don't see any other risk, any other question in the chat. You may please, as I will be going on. I think they come from the YouTube channel. So we will continue, and please post your questions there. Good. So we will go to the next one, which is AI for information. And here I deliberately dropped GenAI, because generative is just one class of AI where it tries to generate missing pieces of a content. And then if this missing piece is at the end of existing content, it will be appending, and this is how the text gets created, and similarly images. But there are so many ways of doing classic AI ML that are much more based on numbers and basically machine learning, as the name suggests. And we at EPAM use it big time and already for many years. So it also requires a little bit of an introduction of what we are doing here. So this is an internal portal, skills.epam.com. This is the shop window. So here I'm not showing you any trade secrets or any sensitive information. It already for demo purposes and educational purposes. So at EPAM, we decided like more than 10 years ago that we want to build our company based on skills. And because of that, we had to come up with solid taxonomy of skills. And of course, we had to come up with the master data management tool that looks like a graph. And so here we have one of the world's most advanced taxonomies of skills for IT, but of course for other industries as well, because we do business with so many industries and we need to express domain skills that our people need to have, BAs, product owners, engineers for that matter. And sometimes those skills are optional, sometimes even mandatory. So we had to capture quite a big amount of skills that exist in the world of basically where EPAM operates. And so now that we know skills, we started to ask people to express their CVs in terms of skills. So this is just fancy visualization, but it just basically shows that this example declares expert level of prototyping, advanced level of interface analysis, then some intermediate level of design. Then in terms of tools, then the CV mentions advanced Zeppelin and advanced Jira. So that's clearly someone who is in the domain of digital of visual design. And then, of course, it was philosophical moment for the company, for EPAM, to make all the skills of all the people available and make it safe and a little bit fashionable to declare your skill so that you have a little bit of fame and glory, but also so that work opportunity positions can be found. They find you if you're an expert in your field, because this is all searchable. When I need someone who knows what's the Zeppelin, I use our systems for search, and then I click a couple of buttons. I set that Zeppelin, and then I see where the people are. Are they busy? Are they available? If they're available, good for me. I'm in luck. If they're busy, still we have a very open culture of reaching across the aisle. Nobody is surprised that, hey, some absolute stranger reaches out internally and says, hey, I saw you have Zeppelin. Could you please just help me with a couple of questions? This is how we operate globally. But in order to enable it, we really need to know how to find each other using skills. Then, now that we decided to express CVs in terms of skills, it enabled us to develop our own personal plans, to explain how our title progression is based on skills, and of course, how we base the demand in terms of skills. So when a new company comes, or a new client comes and says, I need this and this and this specialist, we of course just write it down here, and then it enables us to know supply and demand in terms of skills. And it of course sets the stage for quite advanced machine learning models. And so this is exactly what we have here. So I want to show you then the skill link that is actually an algorithm. So you cannot see it in in UI, sorry, but it's just part of our platform where it links people, and based on this, their self-declarations, on assessments, on their expression of favorite skill, and on different activities who are ready to contribute in the skill as an interviewer, as a teacher, as a mentor. So that's apparently the supply side. And then we have the demand side, where people basically we need people with different proficiency levels, and then we have the ability to match between the two. And this is the magic when, on the scale of the entire big company, we have thousands of people, thousands of positions, and we need to find the match and to make basically staffing in the most effective way. So for this, we had developed a bunch of machine learning models, and that's exactly the part of AI that I want to show to you. And since these are models, then of course it's just a bunch of calculations, but really advanced and executed at scale. So you can imagine that implementation of it was fun. It runs on the back end. So we had to record a fancy clip in order to pretend it has some UI, but this is how we explain what it does to the people. So this matching model takes candidates, positions, opportunities, and here how it all puts together. So this is the position. For some client, of course, everything is blurred here. We need a cloud platform development, and this is DevOps as the main role. And then we know attributes that where this position needs to be. And then we have a bunch of candidates, and then we match many to many. So you can imagine that computationally this very intensive task. So we operate our own data centers. And then we find a bunch of candidates that hiring managers, for example, myself as the project manager, wants to see. And I see that in this, the first candidate in this list actually indeed is a good match. And then we have explanation of why the match is good. And then I can see which skills are matching from must have, from nice to have. And then it's my problem to understand if the person doesn't declare Google Cloud Platform, is it still good to go? Or and I can persuade my client, for example, or I just can accept the person into my team and then ask them to learn the technology. And this is the whole idea, right? So that and this is vice versa. Now I have a person, and the person looks for a new opportunity, and these opportunities are being offered based on what existing skills the person has. So this is more on the opportunity side. The previous view was apparently management view, but this view is available for all the people. When at any moment you can just go and see which opportunities exist at EPAM for me. Even if you are pretty happy on the project, it still feels good if you go there, see, okay, if something happens with this project, and business is business, I will always be safe because I have that many opportunities. Or no, number of opportunities becomes lower. Why? Maybe my technology comes out of fashion. What do I know? Delphi. Aha, okay, maybe I need to upskill. And then, of course, based on skills, we have a bunch of ways how we recommend upskilling to our people. So this is for the essence of matching model, and it sits as the tip of the iceberg on data-driven enterprise, where we just decided that skill will be our common language, skill will be our lingua franca, and this is how far it can get us. Here, of course, important notice that we, as managers, we know that these are only interpretations of position, which is more or less okay, but also for a candidate. And a person is much more than just a list of skills and a couple of numbers. And this is only how the discussion starts. And then we go to figure out what the person's aspirations are. If they don't have Kendo UI, but I see a lot of other successes and points of career, and maybe outside of IT, maybe the person at the university, and the person therefore knows how to study well. So I trust the person that they will learn this Kendo UI, and fine, I take you in my team, let's do something cool together. And then, of course, ability to talk to other people, to be team player, to be empathetic, to be warm. These all are human values that we will always value, no matter which technologies are around us. And although this is not explicitly in a table, it would be awkward, right? Empathy high, but who says that? Right? Come on. We still absolutely make sure that human interaction takes priority over this machine called interaction. And this is just, a hint how to find those potential matches, how to find those potential gems in a company that operates in 50 countries and is more than 50,000 people. So that was the illustration on how I, in my delivery management and IT project management, use AI daily for the purpose of my team formation. So that was the third part. Right now, I do not see new new comments or new questions on YouTube. Therefore, I will go ahead for the last part. And then at the end, it will be Q&A. So if you have some questions, please still ask them. We will have a little bit of time at the end, okay? So the last part is going to be 5 waves of GenAI in SDLC specifically. So let me reconfigure my screen. Here it is. Yes, so SDLC, Software Development Life Cycle. This is bread and butter and staple of any IT delivery manager or IT project manager, you name it. And of course, the future is going to be wonderful, different, multifaceted. We have at IPAM just a bunch of hypotheses how future may unfold. Of course, it will unfold differently, but still it's better to have some view on the future rather than wander into it without any clue. In any case, we will be surprised and astonished. So having said that, this is not going to be a forecast, not expected to be a forecast, rather still arms us to put our expectations against what we may see tomorrow and how to prepare to this tomorrow. So, status quo are humans with IntelliSense. IntelliSense have been around for decades and are right now really advanced. They use abstract syntax trees, they use just-in-time compilation, they use a lot of sophisticated algorithms to really help developers when they press this dot and there is the list of methods of the class, so that it all makes sense, it all sorted properly, and they make educated guesses. Very sophisticated tool that enables productivity of developers. Those who don't use it, apparent code in classic notepad, so to say, they of course lose on productivity and they feel pressure of the modernity already on them. Next, this is what happens now. This is humans with copilots and assistants. So I'm sure that quite a lot of you have tried different type of copilot. At IPAM, we have all of them. We have special department who tries, and special research team who tries all copilots that we can possibly procure on commercial licenses and trial licenses, on whatever. We have our own evaluations, benchmarks, and we know which copilot is now best and worth its money and which startups are good. So of course, that's why basically I hope I know what we're talking about here. And the discussion is that this is much more advanced IntelliSense that can generate much bigger piece of code, but nonetheless, the paradigm is that it works only when I work. So when I'm in my Visual Studio, and then I do something, I chat something, I ask for the completion, it does the job. As soon as I go for lunch, that's it. So it doesn't do anything. So this is the paradigm of Copilot's assistants. How do we go up this wave? By upskilling our workers with powerful techniques and prompts, and by creating tools that use both sides, these LLMs and classic abstract syntax trees, classic IntelliSense. This is actually untapped potential right now. Few tools out there use both generative AI and this classic IntelliSense approach. So a lot is here to be said, even in the first wave. But still, wave number 2 already appears on the horizon. This is where agents come in, and they exactly plug this deficiency that I already alluded to, that they do work when developers or engineers, actually broadly, don't work. They are on lunch, they talk, they have coffee, they sleep, and agents do stuff asynchronously. So there will be agent doing BA work, doing development work, doing QA work, of course as a draft. Of course, humans will be reviewers and approvers, but still it is. So at IPAM, for example, we have a very successful prototype that runs on the continuous integration server. It reads inputs from compilation warnings, from Sonar code smells, and those compilation warnings and code smells usually come with really thick description what's wrong. And then we can have this description, we can have piece of code around it, and we can ask dedicated LLMs, hey, try to fix those. And then they propose fixes and send back to the developer for code review as pull requests. And so the developer wrote something, went to have lunch, and when they are back, they already have, hey, you had these warnings, this code smells, and these are suggestions how to fix it. Just review, approve. Of course, this ritual of copy paste is there for the reasons that I have explained before, but still, this is already asynchronous and a little bit independent in time from when humans work. So this is the second way. The third wave is when we swap places, not humans with agents, but agents with humans. This is when SDLC and roles will start to become less recognizable. In wave 2, we still have agents for BA work, for developer work, for QA work. In wave 3, new roles start to appear, and of course they will be called differently, but for now I call it basically a swarm operator and technical creator. So technical creator is that those people who run and write and describe what needs to be created, but swarm operator operates those automated tractors, and they can run, for example, in parallel 50 bots that do encoding requested from big bot providers, and I'm sure that there will be big cloud providers, Azure, AWS, GCP, and probably Alibaba, that will be doing their own bots that you can request for basically some dollars a dozen. And so you request a bunch of this coding swarm bots, and then you request a bunch of testing swarm bots, and then both coding and testing bots do their job. Coding bots create different alternatives of code. Testing bots create different alternative of tests, and then we just crossbreed them, execute all the pairs, and see where the successful rate is the best. And where we have candidates with the best successful rate, we then take those implementations and spin for another round. And it creates something like genetic algorithm. For those who participate in some algorithmic contests, you know what I'm talking about, the genetic algorithm for solving problems. And then through evolution of several iterations, we will have good enough implementation that passes all the tests, but everything was generated by the swarm. And here we will go up this wave by just increasing size of the generated unit, but also by the ability to do this massively parallel testing of generated code. So if we have 50 parallel implementation candidates, we need to compile, but to run them and then to test them. And so you need to have this 50 deployments in your environment to massively test everything against everything. And only winners will be promoted, and losers will be instances will be shut down. So here you can feel that even the paradigm of cloud becomes very natural, as it enables you massive elasticity in order to do this genetic algorithm approach. And so this is agents with humans. Still, technical creators from operator are main conductors of the show. But then we come the wave 4, where agents become very independent, and swarm operator requests and creates a prompt, not create a system that can do loans or can do food delivery or can do whatever. But instead, swarm operator will start running, prompting be a system, so that the GenAI system is not generating code. It is code, so that you don't need to compile it. You just say, hey, instance of GPT 8 or 12. You are the system that is my mobile bank. Just maybe UI or we need to build, but then you serve me as a bank. I don't need to code it anymore. You are the mobile banking. Use this and this for storing of your accounts. So it will be a different way of programming. And then all the way to systems that actually can self-program and reprogram themselves. And so this will be, of course, the totally different future where the roles are not recognizable, but they will be powered because generative AI has this magic generative nature, but it needs to be crossbred with classic AI ML, with human intelligence, and we will go into the brand new world here. And probably at this point, I will conclude. I hope that this review of absolutely different elements of and perspectives of looking at the work of delivery manager from today's borders to team formation to distant tomorrow was helpful and actually disclosed the topic the way I wanted to present it to you. Good. So now we have time for Q&A, and I do not see any additional questions in the chat. So if anyone has it, then please. And otherwise, I think that will be our conclusion. So far, nothing appears. So I will simply then move on to the next slide. And I want to invite you to the next event that happens in the Greek community. Of course, powered by PAM, but everybody is warmly welcome to join the Zen. And this is Data Zen Community of Greece on the 4th of July, 4 p.m. My colleagues, Attila Such and Konstantinos Kitsaras, will be speaking about GenAI from idea to reality, application and hospitality, tourism and recreation. So apparently it's going to be a very much different discussion, not in SDLC, but rather in the applied domain. And discussion of GenAI in applied domain is even more interesting. And I promise it's going to be great material. Okay, I see some chats coming in. So thanks for good words. And then I see at least one question tries to emerge. So we will wait a couple of minutes. So some question is going to be about the candidate platform, most likely. Yes, on the candidate platform, skills data are also fed from LinkedIn and other platform. Yes, of course. So of course we source it from LinkedIn, and of course we source it from candidate CV. So when we start to know our candidate, then we already seed information in our internal systems based on what the candidate wanted to disclose. Here we start with trust to the candidate, but then it will be apparently a round of technical interviews, and then we will be verifying those skills that are most important for candidate success in the position. I hope it answers. Good. So if any other question, we have still a moment. Going once, going twice. Good then. So thank you so much. And yeah, it was wonderful to spend an hour with you. I'm wishing you the best rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye.